Hello, everybody. Welcome into the NBA Front Office Show. We've got a lot to get into on today's show. A lot of injury updates. Unfortunately, a very big one that was really tough last night that we'll be talking about, plus some trade deadline news, lots of other stuff too. Please make sure you do subscribe right here to the channel on YouTube. Follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Trevor Lane. He's Keith Smith. Keith, good morning. And it's actually good morning for both of us right now. A rarity. I'm not used to these wee hours of the morning.
Yeah, we get you up and early for a meeting this morning, and then said, you know what, we're both here, we're both ready. Let's jump on the mics and do the show, which only guarantees later this afternoon there's going to be some monster news that we're either going to have to come back for or something like that. But that's just how it goes. That's there, but yeah, it is still morning. It's very cold here in Orlando today. It was down in the 30s this morning, which is that's no good. Not why I live here.
No, that's legit cold.
Yeah, it was not. Yeah, it was not a good morning. And what's fun? I'll just quick aside on this. I promise we'll get right into basketball. No, people who park outside here, nobody has like ice scrapers. So like everybody's like, what do I do to get all this off my windshield? Like people are like freaking out. So it's just kind of fun.
What do you call this stuff?
Yeah, what right. It snowed up in the Panhandle.
Really?
Yeah.
I know I've been seeing a lot of the weather reports that like there's like the Midwest areas and stuff are going to get significant amounts of snow coming up this week. Stay warm, everybody. Stay warm.
Yeah, for real. Yeah.
All right, let's jump into our first topic. Just rip the Band-Aid off here. Brutal scene. Jimmy Butler tore his ACL last night. Now, we didn't know it initially. It took a couple hours before we got the official news that it was a torn ACL for Jimmy. He went up to catch a lob, came down on his right leg, immediately crumpled to the floor. The way he was yelling, you knew it was something bad. He was in a lot of pain. And his season is now over for the Golden State Warriors. You always hate seeing stuff like that. You know, I guess there's a conversation to be had about what this means for next season for the Warriors and all of that. But I guess in the near term, Keith, what does this mean for the Warriors for the rest of the season? Does this change their behavior now at the trade deadline? What's the fallout from this?
Yeah, there's a lot, right? Obviously, Jimmy Butler, the Warriors' second best player behind Stephen Curry. I don't think Draymond Green carries that kind of weight anymore as a player. Still good, don't get me wrong, but Butler, key guy for them. So to be without him is enormous. The Warriors already were looking like they were going to be a play-in tournament team. I think the Suns have kind of set themselves apart from the Warriors now, and they're more in the mix for. They're going to be one of the top 6 teams. So then it was kind of the Warriors and then the teams behind them. And I don't think that's going to change for Golden State. I just think now they're kind of stuck here. And that's probably where they're going to be. It's obviously far too late to consider any kind of tanking or anything like that. And they're still too good for that. As far as replacing Jimmy Butler goes, they have like $250K under their second apron hard cap. So not even enough room to do anything until we get to late March. They are past the deadline to apply for a disabled player exception. So you can't even apply for that. Not that they'd have the room to use it anyway, unless they really get off some salary. So if they trade deadline plans, this turns into what happens with Jonathan Kuminga.
Exactly.
Steve Kerr was asked, could Kuminga get back in the mix? And he said, kind of like he's always said, is sure. Like he's never openly said like Jonathan Kuminga is done, like out of our plan. See you later. Like he kind of maintained his, standard with that of, yeah, Jonathan Kuminga could, definitely be a guy who sees some minutes. Or as I said, because somebody was like, well, this means they can't trade Kuminga now. Or does it make it even more likely that you move Kuminga? Because we got to use his salary to get a replace. You're not going to replace Butler really, but to replace Jimmy Butler. So a lot of questions now for the Warriors 2.5 weeks from the deadline.
Yeah, I was wondering if this makes the Warriors now more aggressive in trying to move on from Jonathan Kuminga and turn him into like Michael Porter Jr., Trey Murphy, these guys that we've talked about. And I'm not saying either one of those guys is definitely available. I think Porter Jr., maybe there's more buzz around him than Trey Murphy. But does this cause the Warriors to say, okay, we'll do, rather than try to haggle over a
Yeah.
first and a swap. Okay, we'll do the 2 first and we'll go get this done. Because the other part of it is, Steph Curry's the clock is ticking, right? And you don't want to say, sorry, Steph, we're not going to be able to get you what you need. So now it becomes, I think number one is Jonathan Kuminga, just play Jonathan Kuminga, and does that in some ways mitigate the loss of Jimmy Butler, or does this now make you more aggressive? I think it's more the latter, make you more aggressive on the market, where you really push to go add a Michael Porter Jr. or someone like that. But the Warriors were hoping to add, whether it's MPJ or whoever, I just keep using him as the example, whoever they were hoping to add to Steph and Butler and Draymond, not replace Jimmy. So regardless, this is a huge blow to Golden State. I don't think they can just throw their hands up and say, well, I guess that's it. They're certainly not going to go into tank mode right now, but I think this will get them to be even more aggressive out there on the market to try to turn Jonathan Kuminga into something that can step in for Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, the Warriors, as they have for several years, they're trying to thread a really difficult needle, right? Initially, it was the two timelines plan, right, and all of that, where it was, all right, we've got all of our vets and our guys who were part of the dynasty Warriors, but we have all this young talent and all that. Well, most of that young talent is now washed out, or is, some of it's even gone, and even now Klay Thompson gone too from that group there. But they're in a position where it is very much a spot where it is, all right, where do we go kind of next with this grouping? And I think for the Warriors, what they have to really consider here is they've been very much, we want to add, but we don't want to give up future first round picks, because they know post Curry, Green, Kerr, Butler, there's probably a big fall off and full scale rebuild coming, right? I think we all are now. That's going to be what happens, because the young players did not hit the way they had hoped they would. So they don't want to be without their own picks in those years where those turn into rebuilding years. So I think they're in a spot where, if you're the Warriors, what you now have to do is, right, if we want to make the absolute most of this year with Curry and Green, we may have to dip into those first round picks. And that's going to be what Mike Dunleavy Jr. and Steve Kerr and the Warriors ownership is going to have to sit down and talk about is, are we okay with just being a playoff team with Steph, or do we really want to use Kuminga's salary, use draft picks, and go to do something big? So that'll be the conversation that I imagine they've probably already somewhat having, but now you're having it with more urgency. One last thing. A lot of people went to, well, you just trade Jimmy Butler. And here's my issue. I think we as fans, and I'll include, I mean, we do this for a living, but we're fans first. We go too quickly to, all right, we'll move on from the guy. Like, teams aren't in the habit of generally just trading a guy who suffered I mean, it's going to be career altering, at least,
sure,
for Jimmy Butler. I don't think it'll end his career. I think he'll come back, because knowing Jimmy Butler too, he's always been kind of the guy of, I'm going to show you and I'll prove it to you. But $54 million this year, $56.8 million next year. I think if you're going to think about trading Jimmy Butler, that becomes a summertime conversation, as opposed to, let's just use the salary right now at the trade deadline, because teams are very rarely are they quite that cold-hearted and callous of, you're out, see you later, you're a trade chip.
Well, that's from the Warriors side. Like, what team right now is calling up the Warriors and saying, yeah, we want to buy on Jimmy Butler too? Like, that's the other side of it, because who knows what the recovery is going to look like. And, obviously it's not 3 years or 4 years under contract, but to have $57 million on your books next year for a player who just now tore his ACL, I think I think the efforts to trade Jimmy Butler would be very difficult. That would be different if Jimmy were an expiring contract and his season is over. That's a different situation, because that's hey, Jimmy, we know you're headed for free agency this summer anyway. We're going to use your expiring salary. In fact, the Warriors already did this with DeAnthony Melton. That's a different scenario. In this situation, two years under contract is different. No, go ahead.
Yeah, just real quick with Melton too. I mean, he's back. And I think everybody knew this was hey, we're going to trade you this year. You're not playing again this year. come back in the summertime, and people have said, "Why was that allowed? I thought you couldn't re-sign it." It's only if a guy is waived. In Melton's case, his contract ended, and the Warriors are like, "We got you. We're going to bring you back, and we'll go forward from there." So that's why this one's a little bit different with Butler. Yeah, this is he's still got next year in their contract, and you're absolutely right with no one's going to be jumping up and down at acquiring Jimmy Butler. Why you do it is, all right, maybe let's say you are the Nets. Let's just say they were going to use him to go get. Let's say it was Michael Porter Jr. and Terrence Mann, because that's pretty close to the matching salary. If you're the Nets, it's like, okay, we get off those two guys and some long-term money, but we need back 2 of those future first-round picks at least, maybe even 3, because you need to give us something for Porter, and we need something for eating Butler's contract. And that's how you could envision if they were going to go that way, but that's also part of why it's probably not going to happen beyond just the, hey, let's be human about this.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So tough times for the Golden State Warriors. Certainly not where anybody wanted to see this go, but heard of the Sleeper app? Well, here's a little secret. It's more than just a platform for season-long fantasy leagues. This year, millions of users enjoyed playing fantasy sports on Sleeper, but the app offers so much more, like live stats, including real-time updates and visualization on all the stats, a news feed with lightning-fast updates on your favorite players and teams, and a real-time chat that allows you to engage with other users about individual plays and performances during the NFL and NBA seasons. Download the #1 sports app today, experience it for yourself, and use promo code CAPSPACE. You'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. Let's switch coasts here, Keith. Let's talk about the New York Knicks reportedly looking at Karl-Anthony Towns trades with teams like the Orlando Magic, Memphis Grizzlies, Charlotte Hornets, teams that are reportedly having some of these conversations. The Knicks are struggling in a big way right now. They have lost their last 4 in a row. They're 2-8 in their last 10, and vibes are just weird. If you saw some of the comments coming out of the post game, Mike Brown, their coach, was saying, "Yeah, I would boo us too," and it's things of that nature. There were boos raining down at Madison Square Garden last night when the Mavs went in and lit up the Knicks. So they're talking KAT trades, and I guess my question is, why? To what end, and what kind of value on not a fun max contract does Karl-Anthony Towns actually have?
Yeah, you mentioned 2-8 in their last 10, 2-9 in their last 11 with 2 separate 4-game losing streaks, which is that's bad for a team that looked like the conference could be theirs this year. They just haven't played well and have certainly not played well enough to justify how expensive they are, how much they have put into this group of players through various trades and the like, and re-signing a handful of these guys and all that. I just ran over at Spot Track yesterday, ran my best value contracts, and I had Jalen Brunson and Mikal Bridges on there because they both took undervalued deals. They both took less to stay. But then you look up, part of why you had to do that is because KAT makes 53, 57, and then $61 million player option, and all accounts wants a extension as well. And maybe he takes less than the max on an extension, but I don't think it's going to be drastically less. I think the other reason now, if we take it on court, he hasn't played very good. His defense has always been in question. That hasn't been very strong, and he is shooting the poorest he's shot since worst ever from the field total, second worst from 3 since his rookie season. So it is really just not been productive. His efficiency's not there. It's tough. I mean, and KAT set a high bar for himself as the what he self-proclaimed best shooting big man of all time. But it wasn't a ridiculous claim because he's been a really good shooter. But there it is. You just pulled it up. Not very good. I mean, by his...
It's very average.
Yes.
Let's put it that way. We're not saying that he's shooting 30% from deep. No. He's 36%. He's right at essentially league average. And then 47% from the field. But by his standards,
exactly,
that's not...
Yeah, he set a bar way up here. Now he's performing like here. And that's that's where it's tough. So I think his role has been weird in Mike Brown's new offense. I just think they're going through it, and I think for them it's, oh, well, we're not going to trade Brunson. He's the franchise guy.
Mhm.
We've got Bridges and Anunoby long term. We don't really want to move them because a lot of teams don't want to move off good wings who can play on both ends of the floor. So I think what they're looking at is, all right, well, if we're going to do anything big, it's going to involve Karl-Anthony Towns. This is going to be the guy who has to go. I don't expect there to be a KAT trade. I expect this to, again, be another one that goes into the summertime. And then let's see. And if the Knicks don't pony up with an extension right away,
Maybe an expensive extension.
yeah, expensive extension. That's where I was. That's where I stumbled. Good catch. Is then I think we just see this whole trade stuff blow wide open, and we know if they aren't in the, I mean, they fired Tom Thibodeau to take the next step. Well, the only next step for them is go to the NBA Finals. They're not back in a competitive Eastern Conference Finals. At a minimum, there's absolutely changes coming to this team by the summertime, but maybe it comes before.
Keith, who should be interested in Karl-Anthony Towns given this contract? Like I said, this is not the fun max. This is a lot of money to take on for KAT. I mean, I guess when we look at the trade landscape around the NBA, is it difficult to trade a guy who is not a 1A? I think it's fair to say KAT is not a 1A guy right now. He's very, very good, but he's just not a 1A guy that you're building your whole franchise around. Is it difficult to trade a guy that is probably a second banana type that's making this much money? And then if who should be that? Should it be Charlotte? Should it be Memphis? Should it be Orlando? Or should somebody else try to get in the mix?
Yeah, I think let's start with Orlando.
Yeah,
that one's a little weird to me.
Are there
paths that they can get there? Absolutely. I mean, they've got Wendell Carter Jr., they have Jonathan Isaac. That's already $30 million in money, or I guess about $20 million in money this year. You could do other guys, but then you're talking, now you have KAT, Paolo, Franz, Bane, and Suggs all on the same roster. They'd be the most expensive team in the league.
Yeah.
Going into next season. They're certainly not going to be there. So then that turns into, well, it's not going to be Paolo because he's poison pilled. Franz has been their best player this season. Suggs they love, and Bane they just acquired. So that one's a weird fit for me unless they're doing something we really don't expect in moving one of their kind of other core guys. So that we'll see on there. I just saw a tweet and it says trade news, but it's a baseball trade. So and it's a small baseball trade too. So,
that shouldn't be allowed this time of year.
Right? Yeah, God forbid they set up their teams with spring training right around the corner.
Get our hopes up though.
Well, it used to be too. Baseball was like done by now. Now their free agency drags all the way into spring training. Back to hoops. So the Magic, a little weird. Grizzlies, okay, maybe it's some form of 3-team trade where John Morant goes somewhere. We're going to talk about him a little bit later. And you bring in Towns, and your idea is, hey, it worked pretty good with Towns and Robinson and Towns and Gobert. Why not Towns and Jackson and Zach Edey? Why not put them all together and see what that looks like? Maybe Zach Edey goes in the trade. Who knows? And the Knicks are like, we can build around Zach Edey with all of our guards and wings, and that's how that goes. I don't really know. And then Charlotte makes a ton of sense. They don't have a center of the future. I mean, Ryan Kalkbrenner has played really well for them, but there's some sense of, all right, he might be a backup, which is okay. He's a second round pick. So then where do you go? But again, matching salary starts to get a little tricky, for them, unless you start talking about LaMelo Ball is headed out in a trade, which could be on the table. We'll see. But you could also get there through some combination of Colin Sexton, Josh Green, Grant Williams, and figure all that out. Probably not all to the Knicks, but Charlotte would make sense only because they don't have a locked in starting center moving forward.
Things are not going well right now with the Knicks, but Keith, the problem I have with all of these deals that we're talking about, whether it's Memphis, whether it's Orlando, whether it's whether it's Charlotte here. And I do agree that he could fit a bit. I think Charlotte needs more of a defensive big, but that's okay. They need a big, and so he at least checks a box.
Or you throw defense completely out the window and say we're just going to score 130 points.
Right, and that's all, and that's what we're gonna. It might be fun. I don't know, but
I mean they're fun right now.
They are fun already. That's
really
the thing. They're a very fun team. Yeah. But my court. This is where this is what I can't get past. The East is wide open. How do any of those deals get the Knicks closer to winning a championship this year? After all, they won't hang the NBA Cup banner because somehow, some way, that would prevent them from pursuing the NBA championship this year. But how do any of those moves get them closer to winning? I just don't see those things as moving the needle and moving them in a positive direction.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's hard to see how any of those make the Knicks better. Like right now, and that's the challenge. That's why I think for what it is, their moves are probably smaller around the edges of the rotation versus any kind of blockbuster. Which, if you're moving Towns, would be a blockbuster move. So I think they are in a spot where we see this go to the summertime if it doesn't work out the way it is. And for what it's worth, it's been really bad right now for the Knicks, but maybe they're just going through their rough patch. Every team goes through it. Some teams are worse than others when they go through a rough patch, but maybe they come back from this and they rip off a whole bunch of wins in a row because they were playing pretty good basketball before this. But I just think that team has some issues, and they've got a lot that they're trying to figure out, and unfortunately they're having to do it on the fly.
Yeah. And that's where they're at, trying to figure things out. I think there's got to be some tough conversations in that locker room and figure out what they want to be. I think the talent level is there. The East is wide open. If I'm the Knicks, I'm not looking at Detroit at number one and say, Detroit's been great.
Yeah.
But I'm not looking at Detroit saying, oh my gosh, we don't have a shot. Let's trade pieces away. Like, if you're going to move KAT, you need to know definitively you get better. And I talked about this a little bit last night, but the only way I'm doing something like what you're talking about for KAT in terms of the trades, and I think you're right as far as the pieces that those clubs could offer for KAT. The only way I'm doing that is if the environment has become toxic in the locker room, and moving KAT is the solution to that. That's the only way you're getting better, taking back some of those pieces. I love Zach Edey, but he's not on the floor enough, right? He's been dealing with injuries. You can get him, great. But is he going to jump in for KAT and lead the Knicks to an NBA title or be part of a team that goes to an NBA title? Probably not right now. Maybe a few years from now, Zach Edey maybe gets there. But those kind of pieces, I don't think actually moves you forward unless this has become so toxic that it's an addition by subtraction via chemistry improvement type situation. And I think it would be irresponsible to try to go that far right now. Yeah,
and for what it's worth, it doesn't seem to be that way. It seems like these guys are still very committed to each other and trying to make it work as a group. So we'll be watching this one. I wasn't like completely out of nowhere that this popped up, but it wasn't fully on our radar. But two big stories coming out this morning that it's these are now going to be things that are going to be topics for the next 2.5 weeks leading up to the trade deadline.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the all-star teams, which were the starters were named, although it's a little weird this year in that there's technically going to be 15 starters.
Yeah, kind of. Sure.
Because there's 3 teams where there's 2 U.S. teams and 1 international team. But the East, the official naming of this, before they get split up into their 3 separate teams, the East 5-man starting group, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Jaylen Brown, Jalen Brunson, Cade Cunningham, Tyrese Maxey. Like I said, it's a little awkward because these are the 5 starters, but they may not all actually be on the same team.
Yeah, well, we know Giannis won't be on a team with any of the other 4 because he'll be on the international team. So I have no issues with these 5 guys. I think these are the right 5 guys in the East. I feel pretty solid in all of these guys. All 5 are having really good seasons. Fully understand why all 5 are there, and no major complaints about any one of them.
Yeah, same. I like, you could make an argument for other players and stuff, but this is about how I figured it was going to go.
Yep.
All right, let's go to the West one, though. The West one was the one that got some people,
Yeah, a
some
little
people
fired
up
up.
north upset. Steph Curry, Luka Doncic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Nikola Jokic, and Victor Wembanyama will be the West starters. And if you saw Bones Highland took to X, a lot of people were not happy that Anthony Edwards did not make the cut here. I think he certainly has a case. I mean, any of these guys not being in the starting five would have a case, I suppose. But I think the big surprise is that it wasn't Ant over, say, Steph or Wemby with the injuries that he suffered, or something like that.
Yeah, I think the three guys in the middle, everybody's like, yep, that's fine. I mean, arguably, those are the three best players in the league. So I think we're in a spot where that makes a lot of sense for those three guys to be there. I saw a lot of Ant's team is better than Curry. Ant's having a better year than Curry. Why is he not starting? Fully get that. Let's remember the starters are voted on. 50% is the fan vote, 25% is the media vote, and 25% is the player vote. So still very heavily weighted on the fan side. And Ant was lower in the fan voting than these guys. So that's a big part of it. Now he also plays in a small market, and he doesn't like Wembanyama plays in a small market, but he has all of France behind him, right? People love him. SGA. He's Canadian. He gets a lot of votes there. Plus, he's also the MVP. So that's a big part of it. But Ant's gonna be there, so I'm not overly worried. And honestly, we get Ant with a chip on his shoulder the rest of the way because of this. Then everybody wins, right? Like that's great. And you know what? He'll start anyway because he'll start on one of the whatever the USA teams are. So let's go there real quick with this because people are like, I don't understand. Maybe some of our viewers still don't get it. So we got the starters East and West. The reserves will still be named Eastern Conference, Western Conference. Staying true to that, NBA coaches vote on the reserves. The one difference is it's now completely positionless. There's no more center, front court, back court, wild play. It's all whoever you want. You vote the next 7 best guys in each conference. Then what happens is they're going to take the teams. They're going to see, did we get 16 U.S. players and 8 international players? And if they did, they'll split the U.S. group into 2, and that'll be how this will go. It's going to be this mini tournament that they're going to play out and, see how it all comes together. Essentially 1 quarter long games each. They'll each play each other, and then the 2 best teams will play again in the final. So that's where this is. If we are short on either side, let's say there are 9 international players and only what would that be? 15 U.S. players. Adam Silver picks another player to get he doesn't take a spot away from anybody. So we may end up with, instead of 24 All-Stars, we may have 25 or 26 All-Stars. Same way if it goes the other way. If there's 17 U.S. players and only 7 international, he'll pick another international player. Everybody will be invited to go. And of course, we will always have somebody, unfortunately, will get on the All-Star team, will have an injury and be unable to play. And we'll see where that all comes out. So here we are. These are your All-Star starters for now. And then we'll see, what the reserves come and then how it all breaks out as they build these actual teams.
Yeah, so it's going to be a little bit different this year. I don't have a lot of optimism that this is going to work to suddenly breathe life back into the All-Star game. But nonetheless, I think players do still very much care about being chosen as starters or as All-Stars. And we may see some even more players added in here than we typically would because the way the setup is this year. So
I'm gonna try to be optimistic on it.
Sure.
Like I'll put it on. I'll have it on and watch because quite honestly, by the time that rolls around, we'll have been a couple days without games and I'll be excited to watch some hoops. But I have a real struggle with maybe 5-10 years ago. We might have seen the international guys go really hard to try to prove that they're as good as the U.S. players, but these guys don't need it. SGA is the MVP. Jokic has been the MVP. Wemby is, here. Giannis has been here for years. Those teams have all had success on the international level as well, playing whether it's the World Cup or the Olympics. Luka's team has done well. Jokic's team has done well. SGA's team has done well. Wemby's team pushed Team USA right to the brink in the Olympics. So I just don't know that those guys feel like, yeah, let's go out and prove we're as good as the U.S. players. I think they already know they are, and I just don't know if they're going to get out of this what they're really hoping to get.
And on the flip side, do you think NBA play the American players in the NBA look at this and say, "Oh, we have to prove ourselves against the world guys"? I don't know.
Keep talking like they have for the last day, where it was like, "Oh man, the international team's going to roll and destroy these guys." Maybe then they do get a little bit of a no. Let's go out and kind of show them. But yeah, no one's going to be like, "All right, let me step in and take a charge," or "I'm coming in crashing hard." For this offensive rebound, unless it's like there's a minute left and it's tie game and it's going to decide, who goes to the championship or who wins, then maybe you get that. But that's what you always hope for in the All-Star game, right? Is it's close in the last few minutes and then guys will go at it. But I think players realize like, hey, I get hurt playing in this thing and miss a bunch of time, God forbid, and I'm a title contender team. Like I'm never going to hear the end of it. So I think our days of super competitive all-star games are behind us. And honestly, they haven't been super competitive for well over 30 years. I mean, we all remember here in Orlando, first time they hosted, Magic Johnson wasn't even an active player in the league.
That's right.
Taking half-court hook shots for the last 5 minutes of the game until he made one. Like, which is, no one cares. There was a really fun all-star moment that we all remember. If you're old enough to remember it, and everybody liked it. So, just who cares if it's guys out there having fun? I don't know. Too much gets made of it.
Yeah, agreed. All right, let's
do more trade stuff.
Let's go back to the trade stuff. Let's go. Teams are holding assets for Giannis right now. Keith, there's a little bit of a thought out there that Giannis, with an extension available this summer, or at least he is extension eligible this summer, that he may prefer to get to wherever he wants to be at the trade deadline and then do an extension this summer rather than go into that conversation with the Bucks next year and then wind up maybe being traded and all that sort of stuff. I don't think, based on everything we've heard, I don't think that's ultimately where this is going to go, but that thought process does make some sense. But it's to the point where teams are so worried about missing the opportunity to go get Giannis that they're holding off on doing deals right now. For example, like the Miami Heat, as we've seen in the past, they didn't want to put all of their assets in to get Dame. And because they thought, well, but what if Giannis becomes available? So this is hanging out there. I think nobody wants to miss their opportunity. Nobody wants to do something now and then find out next week, oh, wait, suddenly there's a Giannis sweepstakes and they're on the outside looking in.
Yeah, that's it. It's I always go back to Daryl Morey talked a lot about what he learned when he worked for Danny Ainge when he was building up the Rockets. And he's like, when a superstar becomes available, you want to be in position to make a real offer. And that's exactly what teams are going to do right now, whether that's the Heat or the Knicks or, I don't know, the Thunder or the Spurs or whoever. Not that those teams are necessarily looking to go all in anyway, but like these teams are gonna hold. I believe it was Brian Windhorst who first brought this up this week on ESPN, where it was, the whole trade market's not, he didn't say it was like on hold completely, but it was, there are some teams that are like, we're not going to do anything until we know. Now, everybody has couched all of this with the Bucks are telling everybody, we're not trading him unless he asks. Giannis said, I'm not going to ask.
Right.
And the Bucks are telling teams, so you combine those two things. Well, we want players. We're trying to add to this team to make ourselves better. And they got a win over the Hawks last night or yesterday afternoon. But they're still floundering down in 11th in the East. They're, at best right now going to be a play-in tournament team and probably in the bottom half of the play-in tournament. We'll see, unless they can really get things going. But they have they win a game, they lose a couple. They win a game, they lose it. Like, they're just not playing all that well. So that's kind of where I think that is everybody kind of holding to, wait, mate, does this still flip? does this go somewhere where maybe the Bucks go to Giannis and say, hey, we don't have ways to make the team better. We're not very good. Or does Giannis finally get sick of it? Sounds like that's where everybody's holding. And then I think it was Zach Lowe added on Amazon Prime, kind of a little bit more to that, where he then said, these teams are kind of sitting this out at the moment, just kind of being cautious. And it's not necessarily we're sitting it out because we think he'll be available in the next 2 weeks. It is, if it goes into the summertime, it becomes available. We don't want to have traded everything for player X who's not Giannis, then find out, man, we could add Giannis. As you said, it's that FOMO that's got people a little bit paralyzed right now.
And that's exactly what's happening. I still think that ultimately, when push comes to shove, there are teams that'll make deals at the deadline. I don't think this is going to paralyze everything, but I don't see, unless something significantly changes. I get the thought process behind why Giannis would want to be where he wants to be before the extension talks come around. And it's possible that we get to the summer, the Bucks say, hey, Giannis, how about an extension? He says, I'm not going to sign one. And then the Bucks are put in a very tough spot.
Yeah.
Because he can be a free agent the next summer. But I think that's going to be a summertime conversation. I just don't see the Bucks. The Bucks are going to do everything they can to win around Giannis right now. I don't think there is a path for them to win with Giannis right now, as good as he is. But they're going to do everything they can to do that. So I don't see this changing until perhaps this summer when the extension is really there and available. And if Giannis says no, then the Bucks have to look, hey, we run the risk of potentially losing him. Despite what he may say, he has been very careful to add in, today I love this or what, I mean,
my wife likes me today. Maybe she won't tomorrow.
He's left himself a lot of outs, and that would be a very uncomfortable spot to be in if the Bucks know Giannis is 1 year away from free agency and could potentially walk for nothing.
And that's a great point with this, because effectively, if Giannis is on really any team, but after the trade deadline, he's effectively on an expiring contract, because the rest of this year he'll be finished that out. Then he's got 1 more year under contract. I don't know anybody who thinks he's going to pick up that player option unless it is I'm picking it up as part of an extension after. But I think it's more likely it is I'm going to opt out and extend, or I'm going to opt out and resign. Wherever all of that works out, it works out when we get to that summer in 2027. But this isn't going to go away until they either play a lot better or he gets traded. Like, it's going to be one or the other. That's I don't even think this. I mean, it hasn't, right? Him saying no and the Bucks saying no, like, none of that is changing anybody's thinking on this.
I think it should temper our expectations that a deal would happen now.
Agreed.
But other than that, yes. Yeah. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the Ja Morant saga. Keith, Ja was awesome.
Incredible.
Ja was awesome in London.
Yep.
And then here's what he said to Mark Stein afterwards. He said, if anybody here knows me, I'm a very loyal guy. And he also alluded to his Memphis Grizzlies team logo he has tattooed on his back. He said that should tell you exactly where I want to be. So Ja goes out there, lights it up, and then
best player on the floor by far.
He was out. I mean, behind the back passes into the paint that were just dimes. I mean, he was
jump shots.
The jumpers. He's dancing on the floor. Right. I mean, he was so much fun.
Fans were loving it in London too. They were having a blast. Yeah.
So with all of this, Ja saying he wants to stay. Does this change anything? Do the Memphis Grizzlies now put the brakes on and say, well, okay, never mind, we're going to keep him now? What happens here?
Yeah, it's so tough, because go back to earlier in the week, he was arguing with a teammate in Germany, and he didn't play.
Over dinner or something, I think it was.
What's that?
That's what they were. I think they were arguing about like where they were going to eat or something.
Yeah,
like that was the initial argument.
Yeah, and my thing is like, okay, we're like, was it really a real argument? Like who knows? But like all this stuff. So now we're in this position where with Ja, I remember, I think it was is it Molly Morrison? I think is a huge Grizzlies fan. I think she works for Bleacher Report now. Mm-hmm. She wrote this whole thing, and it was really well written about how like she had basically was like, all right, I'm ready to say goodbye to Ja Morant. And then she posts on site, she's like, well, maybe I'm not. Like, I don't know. So I think everybody's confused here because it seemed like at one time it's like, yep, this dude's ready. I'm done. I think what's happened here is there's probably a sense of the Grizzlies said they put it out there, right? We're open. We're open to moving John Morant. First time we're ever open to listening. Then who knows if the phone even rang? And if the phone didn't even ring, I think the Grizzlies are like, oh, well, okay. John Morant probably gets, hey, teams aren't beating down their door to trade for you. And he's probably like, all right, let's make the best of this. And I do think he likes being a Grizzly. I think he is happy in Memphis to an extent. But I think if there was a team that was like, all right, man, you know what? We're going to buy in. John Morant Sunday in London is the all NBA level John Morant again. Let's go for it. Here's everything. And let's make him the centerpiece of our franchise. I do think Memphis would still move him.
Yeah, agreed. I think they would too. Even if John Morant is saying, don't trade me, I think they would still do it. I think they've, especially with the years left under contract, I don't think one great game, admittedly great game, and his comments now are going to change that. But it could be a reality where that deal's not there. That offer's not there. So I took, when I saw him out there playing, I'm like, okay, is this a come and get me game? Is this a, hey, look, I can still do this. Somebody quick come trade for me. Or is this a, I don't want to go? It turns out it seems like it's kind of an I don't want to go.
Yeah.
But also there's also the added benefit of this, Keith. Regardless of what happens, now John Morant can say, wasn't me. Right? He gets traded. He can go, I didn't want to be traded. You guys heard me. I said I didn't want to be traded. Yeah. I don't know. They decided they didn't want me. It's not me.
Yep. When you said I don't want to go, it made me think of the
Monty
movie
Python?
Big Daddy.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to go. I'll wipe my own butt. I'll keep it clean for the show. Like that. I there's a chance I've seen that movie more than any other movie. Really? Other than probably Gladiator at this point.
Steve?
Yeah, Scuba Steve. Me and my old roommate Jay. We had a TV VCR combo, and that was like the one tape we had. So
part
we
of our
would watch that movie every night before bed. Now people are like, how old is this guy?
Remember the VCR DVD combos when DVD came out, but people still had VHS tapes, and so you had to have both.
Yep.
And now I've got a stack, like a collection of DVDs that I don't even have a DVD player anymore.
Yeah, I think I can still play them through like the PlayStation and stuff. And we do have a Blu-ray player out in the family room. But yeah, I mean, anything we watch now, we're just, okay, pull it up on whatever streaming service there is. So, all right. Well, that was a good little segue delay before
down memory lane there. All right. Jalen Williams out indefinitely with the strained hamstring. J-Dub. These
didn't look good. Knew it right away. Grabbed at it. They initially called it a thigh injury, but you could tell right away it was hamstring.
Yeah. So
not great.
I mean, the good thing is the Thunder in first. Yeah. They're not, they're not going to drop out of there anytime soon or anything like that. But this is a guy who started the season injured too, and now we've got another injury popping up here. Not ideal. Now the one
Isaiah Hartenstein out too for the Thunder still with the Thunder are pretty cagey with injuries too. They don't really give you a timeline. So yeah, I'm glad you pulled up the standings. 5.5 clear still of the Spurs. So I think they're fine, but it is, they've had a lot of injuries, and these things do tend to happen when you make that long playoff run. And let's not forget, it feels like they rolled through the playoffs, but they had 2 7-game series. They had to work really hard to win that title. So maybe there's a little bit of residual hangover on these guys.
Could be. But in any event, this could very well be the type of thing too that runs into the All-Star break.
Yeah.
And then we don't see him till after that, especially if he's anywhere close. Let's say they're like, well, maybe you could go a game or 2 or 3 games before the All-Star break. They just go, nah, let's just run it out and we'll see you after the break and make sure you're 100%. Yep. So any injury that pops up now that normally would be, a couple weeks even, you start looking at, we probably don't see this guy back until after the All-Star break.
Did you catch much of their game against the Cavs yesterday?
I didn't. No.
So they only had two real bigs available. It was Chet Holmgren and the other Jalen Williams. And because the Cavs start Mobley and Allen, they started both of them. And then the other Jalen Williams also got hurt with a back injury and was ruled out. There were times when Mark Daigneault rolled with a 5-guard lineup where, if I'm not wrong, SGA was the biggest player on the floor. Like that's kind of where things are at for the Thunder, who don't have a lot of size. If they're going to add anything at the trade deadline, and maybe they do like a small move around the edges, it's got to be another big. Because they're not going to want to. Let's say Hartenstein is out for at least a little while longer. They're not going to want to completely put everything on Chet Holmgren like that to have to play them much, because he's too important. You don't want to have him worn down before you get going. And Chet Holmgren's a guy, he may not get the week off at All-Star because he may very well be an All-Star himself. I got to imagine he's very firmly in the mix, and
for sure
should be. So.
Yeah. So when we're looking at what the Thunder could do, I mean, we're not talking about Thunder go after KAT, say, right? I mean, that's not what we're saying, but go get a reserve big to add to your roster. It would make some sense if you're OKC right
something
now.
Small, but yeah.
All right, let's go. Speaking of the Cavs, Darius Garland. Toe injury again.
Opposite foot,
but still
not great.
No, not great. And this, we're talking about ones that could just push to the All-Star break. Maybe, I know there's like a 7 to 10 day kind of timeline out there right now, but maybe this winds up being something that would fall in that category. Now, Keith, I've been very much on the side of, because I've got a lot of people say, well, the Cavs the season's not gone the way they wanted. They should trade away guys. I think it should be more of a summertime move if they're going to do something significant and move one of their core four, Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, Garland, and Mitchell. And of course it would be Allen and Garland would be the two they'd really be looking to potentially move. DeAndre Hunter, you can throw in there a little bit, but I've been very much on the side of, hey, you were great last year. You were awesome. You were the second best record in the NBA. Then things fell apart in the playoffs. You haven't had the best season so far this year. See if you can hit your stride in the playoffs. If you can't, make your big moves this summer rather than try to tear things apart right now, unless you have something fall on your plate that you can't say no to hold on, give this one more shot. And that if you're going to go this far in the season as the second apron team, as the most expensive team in the NBA, you want to give this team one more shot in the playoffs, in my opinion. I see a lot of people out there saying the Cavs need to trade some of these guys now. I'm giving this one more chance in the postseason if it's me.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. I don't want to continue to just link the Cavs and the Knicks together because they were the conference favorites coming into the year, but they're in kind of the same boat where it is, all right, we're going to give you this chance, but if you don't get it done, major changes are coming. We're going to have to start really moving things. And if you're the Cavs, you're going to have to really start thinking about, hey, do we need to just move some guys in salary clearing moves to avoid second apron issues and all these other things that come with that? But part of that comes with, let's see if these guys can be together. And with Garland, when he missed time with the toe injury last year, this is how it started with, he's going to be out a week or two. Then it turned into longer. And then it turned into surgery over the summer and missing the start of the start of this current season after missing the preseason. Like it just, these things have historically not gone well for Darius Garland. So let's keep an eye on that. And I mean, I've seen both sides of it where they're like, well, it's the other foot, so at least it's not a recurrence. But some people are like, yeah, but it was a cause because he's not playing right with the other surgically repaired foot. Like, where is this all going? So I think it's nervous time for the Cavs. They're right there. I mean, they're only a couple games behind the Knicks for third in the conference. So that's how tight things are in the East right now. But I don't know that anybody feels great about them. And where they've played right now. And they really against OKC, not the team you wanted to be shorthanded ball handlers against.
Yeah, absolutely. That's for sure. All right, let's jump over to speaking of ball handlers. Look at the transitions here.
Yeah.
Tyler Hero out with a rib injury. The Miami Heat, certainly one of the teams that when we talk about teams that are trying to be careful with their assets, just in case Giannis Antetokounmpo becomes available, they've been, aside from New York, probably the most talked about landing spot for Giannis. Just there have been some rumblings out there that he would like to play there. I don't blame him. Spend his whole career in Milwaukee to say, hey, the beach sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
But Miami is a team that I think wants to be very, very careful. That's why when you hear Miami, there were some rumblings that they could get into the mix on John Morant and things like that. And then it became, well, but they won't give up Kelly Ware. They won't give up this. They won't give up that because they don't want to give up stuff and then miss out on a potential opportunity to get Giannis. So while you look at the Heat right now, they're the 8th seed. Tyler Hero's out. That he started the season out. This could be a tough setback. The Miami Heat are just kind of waiting for their opportunity to pounce on a big time superstar level trade. And we know they're always in the mix on those trades, but they've been specifically hanging on to stuff that they wouldn't give up in the Dame conversation, right? And they won't give it up in a Ja conversation because they want to be the landing spot for Giannis.
And they're also in a place where Miami is very much said to prioritize future flexibility, which is why a lot of people said they're not going to get in on John Morant because they want to have some, whether it's for Giannis or not, but just a bunch of cap space in a couple years when most of the contracts will be off the books. So when it comes to Hero, he had been out for a while. He came back, played. Now he's got this rib injury. When I don't know if you saw it last week, but they blew a huge lead to the Celtics when Anthony Simons went crazy. But the Celtics on, I believe, if my number on this is right, 11 consecutive possessions in the fourth quarter, just kept pulling guys into screens until they got Tyler Hero.
Yeah.
And then went at Tyler Hero. And on all 11 of those possessions, they had a minimum got a good shot that missed, or they scored or got fouled. So just it's tough. I mean, it's really hard to play at that level. He is a great offensive player, but defensive, if you want to be what you want to be, it can't just all fall to, well, Bam Adebayo will cover for him. You end up needing to have 2, 3, 4 other good defenders on the floor with Hero at a time just to make sure. And we've seen it happen to them in the playoffs at times where it's been, all right, if you're going to leave him out here, we're going to go find him. And that's really tough. So we'll see this one also a little bit more, not just, I don't know, maybe this is a day or two thing. Maybe it does turn out to be that, but he didn't travel with the team when they went to the West Coast to play the Warriors starting off there. Even though Jimmy Butler got hurt, they got drilled in that game. The Warriors, blew them out. So speaking about somebody who did go west early, see, segues continue.
I like that. Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah.
Out. Near it was only a matter of time, I suppose.
He had played 24 consecutive games. I thought maybe I have this wrong, but I think I read that's the most consecutive games he's ever played since getting to the Clippers.
Is that right?
Yeah. In those 24 games, he looked awesome. I mean, the Clippers maybe they can't dig themselves all the way out of that poor start, but they're playing a top 3 or 4 team in the league right now.
Yeah, now they are 8-2 in their last 10. I was looking at this. I've been doing a lot of stuff. I've been doing Lakers Nation and Basketball Bulletin. I've been doing a lot of looking at numbers since in 2026.
Sure.
When we flip the calendar year, and when you go look at that, you look at just this, and obviously it's a small sample size, but the Clippers are 8-2 during that stretch. They have the number 6 offense in the NBA during that stretch. And a lot of that is credit to Kawhi. They are the number 17 defense. But then when we go look at say like net rating, they've jumped up. They're number 11 in the NBA. Now that's not like, oh my God, they're just destroying everybody, but they're 8-2 with the number 11 net rating and the number 6 offense in the NBA during this run. Like, they've been legitimately good and significantly better than they were to start the year. Like ever since, I kind of laughed even when Ty Lue said that whole we need to win 35 or whatever games of our next. However, I'm like, well, that's never happening. And I don't know why, but that seemed to light a spark under them. And here we are. And they are now in a play-in team right now and certainly on the rise.
And I don't know if Memphis is going anywhere. Like, good. We'll see. Dallas certainly, out of it here. Couple other guys, way down. So we'll see with this.
I went away from your.
Oh no, you're fine.
From standing.
No, you're good. The Jazz, Kings, Pelicans, they're not.
The point is, all those teams are not going to go try to chase down the Clippers.
Now, if you're the Clippers, and I thought this was pretty far-fetched, they're only 4 behind the Warriors in the loss column. Maybe. And if you could get in the 7-8 play-in game, that's way different than being in the 9-10 where it is, let's win twice maybe twice on the road, and then we get to play the Thunder. You're in the 7-8 game. Now it is, all right, we win that game. We're going to get not the Thunder in the first round, and maybe we take our chances with whoever it is. I mean, go ahead, Lucy, set up the football for me as Charlie Brown again, because it feels like we're here. But with Kawhi, we'll see. This is not related to the knees had problems with. It's the other knee. He banged the knees, but it's anytime it's Kawhi and knees, you get a little nervous about where's this going to go. And
sure,
they sent him home to be checked early. Their road trip was coming to an end, but James Harden's had a really great season. Their other guys are playing in pretty healthy. Maybe there are trades to be made for the Clippers to add to this roster. I don't think they'll hesitate to do it if they can, because I think this group has earned it now. With their play, but they started. I want to say they started 6-20,
something like that.
13-3 since then. That's pretty good stuff.
Yeah. So a big turnaround for the Clippers, and we'll see now with Kawhi out. Does that derail things? And we'll keep an eye on that situation. Now, the incredibly injured Denver Nuggets. No Jokic, no Valanciunas, Christian Brown, Cam Johnson. Aaron Gordon was out for a bit. He's back now. They've missed so many guys, and they've managed to stay afloat, which has been very, very impressive with what they've done. They're 6-4 in their last 10, but remember, that's without Jokic. That's with all these guys out.
They've sat guys too, like Murray sat games because they try not to run everybody else into the ground.
Right. So they've got to be thrilled with the way they've been able to stay afloat.
Sure.
Without Jokic, but now Christian Brown's going to be out to rehab his ankle for a bit.
Yeah. So Christian Brown, they came out. David Adelman, the Nuggets head coach, came out and said he returned too early. Like the rare kind of admission of like, yeah, we probably shouldn't have let him play yet. And he's like, if you saw him play, clearly wasn't ready. There was a game in Boston. Christian Brown is super athletic and really good around the rim. He came right down the middle of the lane, got a pass, no explosion, and he shorted a layup. Like off the bottom of the rim because he just couldn't get up. And then he kind of was limping around after that and didn't play a whole lot more. Now they're saying, hey, just take more time off if you need to get that ankle right. And I think because they've hung in there, they can afford that, right? They can afford to say, all right, let's go. Because when Jokic went down, we were talking about, are the Nuggets going to fall all the way into the play-in tournament? Where's this going to go? And instead, they've held course with. If you look at it, they're right there with everybody else in the West. Nobody around them has played any better than them by more than a game. So it's been a really good run for them, and that's going to be also confidence building for them going in. But yeah, let's hope they can get Christian Brown, Cam Johnson, and never mind Jokic. Quick Jokic update. Doing more, ramping up. We'll see. Maybe we do see him before the All-Star break. That'd be really good for the Nuggets.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
Let's do a positive one. Close on a good note.
Jayson Tatum did a workout in front of the media. Now, that doesn't necessarily guarantee he's back, anytime soon or anything like that. But it seems like things are trending in a positive direction for him to get back on the court this year.
Yeah. So let's talk about this. Did a workout for an hour in front of the media. The media was this was not come in and watch him shoot some free throws at the end. it was like somewhere between 45 minutes and an hour that they were allowed to watch him work out. He was working out against members of the coaching staff. This was all live stuff with contact. Clearly, they're not bodying him up and knocking him to the ground, but with contact. And this was also on the road in Detroit before their game yesterday. So you add all those things up. Why? Like, why are we doing this at this time? Then you add some of the reporters who are let's just call it what it is. They're very tied in with the team. And there's some of the people when they get something that they put out there, it's good and you can run with it. A couple of the reporters were, Jayson Tatum's letting everybody know, along with the Celtics, it's not far off. Now, when I say that, it's not tomorrow. It's probably not even this week. But I think it's shortly after the All-Star break. I think we're going to get – and it's probably going to be without very little fanfare unless somebody leaks it to Shams or someone first. It'll probably be the injury report comes out instead of being Jayson Tatum, Achilles tendon rehab out. It'll be Jayson Tatum, Achilles tendon rehab or ramp up or return to play conditioning doubtful. Yeah. And then that's going to – that'll be your first sign that, all right, we're headed towards this where, he'll be back. I've said it for months now, based off everything he has said, the team has said, he will play this year, but everyone has continued to make it abundantly clear it won't be until he's ready. There's as it was put, there's no guarantee of 100% guarantee of no re-injury. That's not a thing. It doesn't exist. But it'll be, all right, you feel good? Doctors agree, team agrees. Let's give it one more week. Then let's talk about it. But he's gonna play this year, and I think he's gonna play early enough this year that it's gonna be get out there, knock the rust off, and be a part of the playoff rotation. What I said yesterday was, even if Jayson Tatum is not, and I put it because this was on Twitter, all caps Tatum, right? All NBA superstar Tatum. If he's just better than the 10th man in the rotation, which he should be for 15 to 20 minutes a night, that's a win for the Celtics. And that's what the expectation should be. That's how people should be viewing this, not all NBA superstar MVP candidate Jayson Tatum is back. That'll get saved for next season and beyond. But for the rest of this year, just come back and be a part of it. And I think there's a real chance that's how it goes.
Yeah, which is, certainly not where we thought we were going to be with this when the injury was first suffered last year. It was, oh no, the whole season is gone. Now he could very well be back. It's looking like he will be back in the rotation with the East wide open. Who knows this is going to look? They've played great, and who knows where this is ultimately going to go once you get Jayson Tatum back in the mix. Again, there's going to be a lot of hype, and we just want to temper the expectations so people aren't expecting him to be 100% Jayson Tatum the moment he steps back onto the floor. It'll be a process. It may take some time, but like you said, Keith, if he can be somebody who steps in and gives you better than the players that he's replacing, which is very reasonable, then it could be a big positive there for Boston.
Well, it's going to make me laugh too, because the first time he shoots like 2 for 10 and doesn't look good, you're going to get a lot of what's wrong with Jayson Tatum. And I told you he wasn't ready. Why is he playing? Yeah. And it's like, he had a cold shooting night, like everybody does. It happens.
You mean people just overreact?
Screwed. Yeah, shocking, right? So, but hey, it's part of what happens. With this game we love. So
absolutely,
there it is. Look at that. There was a lot of injuries, a lot, unfortunately. So we wanted to end with a positive one.
Yep. All right, everybody.
We got a Twitter notification. I was hopeful. I was like, oh, right at the buzzer.
Oh, they
announced the NBA Finals schedule, so which is good. Hey, let me end with one other fun thing. Yesterday, the NBA has done a wonderful job of making Martin Luther King Day a showcase event. They did all these cool things with all the cool introductions that they did in different arenas and all the things that they did around making the day special. If you're just a basketball fan, what it gets me fired up for having basketball all day, it's that first real taste of like, ooh, this feels like the playoffs. And like when you have playoff games, especially in the first round, right? And you've got those weekends where you got 4 games on Saturday, 4 games on Sunday. Like it's like, all right, we're halfway through the regular season now. We're getting close to the to the good stuff. But 2.5 weeks to the trade deadline. We're closing it, man. It's
Come on, NBA.
That's a long way to say, guys, subscribe,
Mm-hmm.
like the video, share the video. Let's go. Let's continue the momentum here.
Let's do it. Let's do it. All right, everybody. Appreciate all of you. Please make sure you do subscribe to the channel. Till next time. See ya and stay safe.